The following program is a Creative Magic Network production. Hey guys, as a part of the Creative Magic Network, today's episode is brought to you by Maura Sweeney, the ambassador of happiness herself, with her podcast, Maura Sweeney, Living Happy Inside Out, with reflective questions, anecdotal stories, and encouraging thoughts. Maura empowers you toward transformation, reinvention, and personal growth. So let's get to it right now.
Welcome to the Maura Sweeney podcast. Maura is an international speaker, Huffington Post contributor, and the trademarked ambassador of happiness. In 10 minutes or less, Maura weaves clever anecdotes, insightful questions, and personal stories to challenge your mindsets and enable you to live happier from the inside out. Here's Maura with today's podcast for you.
Did you know that I not only get you, but at some level I am you too? If you're on a path to living happy from the inside out, today's special podcast you will find very insightful. I not only get you, but I am another version of you and who you are. Right now I'm close to my 100th podcast, and I think it's about time that I take a moment and share with you a little bit of my backstory. You'll learn how I not only get you, but that I am you, and why it's important for you to listen into these podcasts if you are on that path to living happy. My background is such that it would mirror that of many others, except that the details might be different. When I was very young, my family decided, in all good intentions, that I was going to grow up to become a New Jersey lawyer, something akin to that of my grandfather, who was a very well-known attorney in the New York and New Jersey area. Well, being a very obedient and first child who always wanted to do what her family expected of her, I tried very hard to be the pleasing child, always looking to reach new hurdles and follow what the parents had expected of me. But at the same time, I was a very free-spirited young person. So I found myself living between two worlds. One, the world that was designed to please my elders, and the second world would have been, as I would describe it, my world, where I found inspiration, where I found my sense of imagination, and where lots of wonder and a sense of light and life would flow out of it. Well, I reached the proverbial wall when I was 23. I was at the exact midpoint of law school studies, and I realized that each day I was draining the life from my very being. The best way to describe it is exactly as I saw it. I felt each day, each morning as I got up to go to law school, that I was putting a body bag containing another version of myself on my right shoulder. And I used to refer to it in my own head as the other Maura. I had been carrying a false sense of self all of my life. But by age 23, knowing there were only 3 semesters in front of me, at which point I would need to take the bar and plan on spending the next 40 years as a New Jersey lawyer, had become far too much of a burden. One very frightening day, I realized I could not get out of my chair to get into my car and drive to school. The heaviness that I felt was so overwhelming, I could not pull myself out of the chair. On top of that, when my husband came in and happened to see me still sitting there, he said, "Oh, what happened with school today?" I opened my mouth and nothing came out. I had reached a point where I could no longer go forward. It was a very frightening time for me because, having grown up and always looking to please those around me, I was afraid that I didn't know what to do next. I might not have wanted to have a future identity as a New Jersey lawyer, but I didn't know what I could be. There was nothing there for me, and it was very, very frightening. Well, the long and the short of the story was after leaving law school, I just started pursuing my own path. As it turns out, I ended up in the very fast-moving telecommunications industry of that era and was rapidly promoted into management. And during that time period, I worked for 2 national companies, launched and managed a few branch offices, but found my way when I learned not so much that the telecommunications industry was exciting to me, but people and developing people and working together with people in positive environments was everything that made me happy and also helped fuel that same internal pump. And what I ended up doing was identifying great people. I found their passions. I found their purposes. I recognized and promoted their talent. I celebrated their talent and loved creating experts. Not only that, I learned to build some things from nothings. At companies I had worked at that did not really have a strong brand identity, I was able to turn things around on mental levels that helped organizations of people and individuals work well, work happily, work synergistically together. And yet at the same time that I was developing staff and even mentoring several managers that would come into town, I also found that my skills were such that I could also help redirect some people that were in positions that maybe they were not doing very well in, but that they had other talents that would do well elsewhere. I took all of these skills from my background and eventually moved on. But the important piece of it was that that was my building block after having left behind something, including an identity, that really wasn't mine. What does this mean for me today? I told you at the beginning of this podcast, I get you, but I also am another version of you. If you feel that sense of heaviness, if you're identifying with the fact that the life force within you is draining because it feels so heavy, or because it doesn't feel like it's been primed or given an opportunity to have an outlet, I have gone through that process. I've had to undo layers of acquired beliefs. I had to deal with external messaging and patterning. I've lived through an enormous undoing process to bring the proverbial chicken out of the egg or the butterfly from the cocoon. And I've even reinvented myself again at midlife after having been a homeschooling parent to my daughter. This, in my background, was all for good. Had I not been brought up to be something other than what I was meant to be, had I not had to go through a time period feeling as if I was the living or the walking dead at the age of 23, I wouldn't be so passionate about all I do today through my writings, my speaking, my podcasts, and even my Foundations of Happiness course to help other people find their way to living a happy life from the inside out, finding their best, brightest, and most sparkling self. What is my why for doing this? It's more than the fact that I love encouraging and inspiring others to step out of their own shell and to live their life in ways that feel natural and beautiful and freeing to them. But beyond that, I have another very personal why, and it also goes back to my childhood. As a very young girl, preschool I would say, I loved lying down on the front lawn when I had opportunity. I would look up at the clouds, and at one point I would imagine the lighter me being able to lie down on the clouds, to look down at the earth below, and to feel like a very free spirit. On the other side, I also remember looking up at the airplanes and wanting to be on them, wanting to meet with people of every different kind of background. In my world, as a very young child, I wanted to know the world. I wanted to connect with the world. I saw the world as my extended family. And rather than seeing the world as being all the same, all like me, or all cookie cutters, I embraced everyone's differences. And that was my idea of the ideal world. People of different appearance, different skills, different talents, different cultures, and different abilities, all together, appreciating and supporting one another. It was my idea of the perfect party. So when I do what I do today, my why is helping to bring about, one person at a time, one thought at a time, one inspiration at a time, a world that is a happier, brighter, and better world. So when I was saying, I not only get you, but I am a version of you, each time that I speak, I am imparting to you some of the lessons I've learned along the way. And there's something in it to remind you that my life is your life, that there's a bigger life, a happier life, a brighter life, one that the world has been waiting for, just because it's been waiting for you. Well, that's been my thought for today. But before we go, let's listen in to someone else share with us what makes them happy from the inside out too. This has been Maura with Maura for You.
Hi, my name is Miranda Reshaw. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I've also lived in Edinburgh and London, and I spent a couple of months in Tanzania. Currently, I live in Georgia, in Fayetteville, which is near Atlanta. I work for Coca-Cola as a process improvement manager for the IT Global Support Center. And I also work on the board of the women's organization within Coca-Cola called Women's Link. And I chair the community leadership team. What makes my heart happy is spending quality time with my family. I have 2 young kids, 5 and 7 years old, and just seeing them enjoy life is what makes me happy. And besides that, I love inspiring young girls to find their path in life and to do what really makes them happy. And that's what makes me happy.
For more insights on living happy from the inside out, subscribe to this podcast. To learn more about Maura, visit her mauraforyou.com website, where you'll find videos, blogs, books, and the Foundations of Happiness self-study e-course. Maura, 4, letter U.com, where Maura is always for you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. How'd you like it? How did you like it? I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody out there, and also everybody who contribute to our Patreon page. You are really helpful to this show, and we are grateful for your help. In case you're wondering, Patreon is a simple way for you to contribute to the podcast and get super cool exclusive rewards in return. I promise you will love the perks. Our Patreon page is at frederickby.com. That's Frederick with a C. buylikebabai.com, and click Patreon in the header. The money is used to cover our production costs and enhancements. It is also used to cover our editing time and sharing to different podcast channels. You can contribute for as low as $1, and you can even choose your platform, either Podbean or Patreon.com. See ya next time.